And welcome to another episode of My Idaho Friends. I am your host, Jaime Lima, and today we have a good one. I always say that. But today I really mean it. It's always good, but today is really good. As always, before we start getting into it, shout out and big thanks to Argos Productions, Erica. Justin's not here, but much love to him and the rest of the crew that is out back. If you need to get in touch with some professionals to do all sorts of stuff for you, content for your business, film, anything that has to do in the arts, and you need videographers, you need photography, you need all these type of things, go ahead and click on the link if this happens to be seen on YouTube, which will happen a little bit later, and check out their website, check out their portfolio. They're really awesome. So that's Argos Productions. And now, without further ado, my friend Caitlin, founder of Full Swing PR, and I think also founder of, you have a lot of several other things, but there's one that is significant, Women in Power.
No, but that's what I'm all about. So you're on the right track. So the other one, I'm a co-founder of Electable, which is an online community that helps women run, win, and lead in public office at the local level, particularly in smaller towns.
I knew that.
Yeah.
But I didn't say it like
You're
that.
not really our target audience.
Hey, but I know about things about my friends.
But I support it. You can make donations. You can volunteer.
See, I like it.
For women candidates, there's many things you can do.
Cheers to that, to ladies in power, especially in the great state of Idaho. Which, sometimes I say great and some people laugh.
Yeah.
I like it, but, it's got its things.
It's got some really beautiful places.
Absolutely.
And some really beautiful people.
Very natural, beautiful people, beautiful families, and let's just leave it at that. And then we're drinking a little bit of drunken bean today. It's really good. It's really cool.
Yeah. I'm from Nampa, just like this whiskey.
Ooh.
2C.
I
use the hashtag proud to be 2C on Twitter sometimes, and people are like, really? But.
So Centerfire Distillery, last season, they were over here and they couldn't really talk about this. So they're super stoked that it's out and about. So shout out to Centerfire Distillery, and you guys made a great product. So way to go. Now, Caitlin.
Jaime.
So usually what we do is, we talk we talk a little bit about, how we got to where we're at today. So, and I keep it really simple, right? Like for Marines, it's like 10 years in the past, and then where we're at right now, and then like, hey, 10 years into the future. But those are very loosey-goosey, guidelines. We can do whatever we want.
Cool.
However, not everybody, has the privilege to know you as I do. Know that we're besties,
from the parking lot of Puentes.
Yeah, exactly.
To that German deli. To this
Please
moment.
Stop. We're not BFFs, but we know each other.
We have mutual BFFs.
Yeah, that is true. We have a number of them. Where were you 10 years ago? What was Caitlin up to?
Goodness, let's see. What year was that?
So it's 2021.
11.
So yeah.
So I was running for city council.
What?
Yeah, in Missoula, Montana.
What?
Yeah. I feel like COVID makes time weird.
Yes.
I mean, it's just weird in general to be like, once you pass 35, it gets way harder to keep track. Or maybe it's like having children.
Having
like
children, I think, is really the thing. Because a combination of, like time was just being really fast forward as soon as we started having children. But then COVID happened, and the last 2 years have been the longest decade that I've been a part of. So I guess I should have asked you, what were you up to 20 years ago? And that would have put you in 2011.
Your hair still looks really good, though. I feel like you have not gone gray at all.
I have two.
You have two? Did you pull them?
No, I don't pull them. I am willing them to grow longer and stronger. So
to make you look more distinguished.
No, it's just because everybody looks at Madeline, and then there's the whole joke, like, oh, Jaime is responsible for all of those, right? And I look, she has this natural look where she refuses to color her hair, right?
Yeah.
Like, not that there's anything wrong if you want to, you do what you want to do, but she leaves it natural, and there's a lot of gray. That's not a secret.
Yeah.
And then they're like, ha. You didn't look like that when you married Jaime. And I was like, ha.
Yeah.
Go suck up, drummer.
Yes.
Anyways,
but 10 years ago, I was knocking a lot of doors in Missoula, Montana.
Wow.
Trying to unseat an anti-gay incumbent, which I did successfully. I'd never run for office before. I raised $12,000, which was a lot for a Missoula City Council race. And actually, I mean, Boise City Council races are a lot now, but in most towns in Idaho, that's still like a pretty hefty campaign budget for a local race. But I did it, and it was awesome. It was a wild ride, and you know, I feel like there's so few chances to like actually go knock doors and meet your neighbors. That's one of the things I love about volunteering for campaigns now, and certainly about my own race. It was really a cool way to get to know what people think about, you know, and what they care about.
Man, so clearly I understand the reason why you did it, and thank you. You know, even though I didn't live in that city, I think, you know, more people need to be involved when they're like, oh, yeah, fuck that. We need to fix this. Because that's fucked up.
Yeah.
So you get elected, but prior to getting elected, so what was your strategy for that? And because it's going to tie to what you do now, right?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I would love to have a little bit of a snapshot of what that was like back then when you didn't have, you know, what I will call like all the resources and the network that you have now here.
Definitely. Yeah, so I moved to Missoula for graduate school in 2005. I did my undergraduate at the College of Idaho, go Yotes. And then lived in Sun Valley for a year, and then went up to Missoula and was like, what is this magical place called Montana, and why did my parents never bring me here as a child? Because it's really so close, but it is hard to get to. It's like a solid, 7.5 hour drive on good roads to get to Missoula. But I really just fell in love with it, and I feel like that's the town where I really kind of like became me and became an adult. And I always kind of had an interesting relationship with my home state of Idaho and my hometown of Nampa in the 2C. So it was great. I got really into lots of community organizations there. My first kind of big kid job out of grad school was working for the YWCA, which is a domestic violence shelter. And yeah, basically never had big ambitions to run for office, but definitely was motivated by issues and cared about democracy. And then when it became clear that nobody was going to run against this woman who had voted against Missoula's non-discrimination ordinance that was the first in the state in 2010 to include lesbian, gay, bisexual, and trans folks from being denied housing, being denied jobs, or other public accommodations just because of who we are or who we love, that wasn't okay with me, so I decided to take her out, and I did.
Boom.
Boom.
I love it.
Yeah, and she lost every race since, so that was good. She did try again.
Oh, really? Wow, she didn't learn, huh?
Cheers.
Cheers to that. It takes a few tries. This is really easy. Oh, no.
It goes down easy.
I will do my best not to pour again.
It's almost Friday.
It's not Friday?
After 5.
No, it is Thursday today.
In Central Time.
I like it. I'm going to go with that. So that's really cool. Then what brought you back to Idaho? What brought you back to Boise?
Yeah, so little Tolly, my son, was in my belly, and I had very involved grandparents in my life, and it was important to me to make sure he had the same experience. Also, like, Boise had a lot more economic opportunity. I'd always kind of been able to figure it out in Missoula, but Missoula is not getting any cheaper, and neither is Boise. But at the time, Boise was, a more affordable place to live.
You got here, like, kind of almost in that cusp of the craziness.
And I just felt like, as somebody who's, very driven in terms of my career, and at that point I hadn't started my business yet, but just having the grandma's support was very helpful.
Yeah, it's huge.
And still is. So,
no, yeah, absolutely.
It takes a village.
Yeah, I was partially, well, I say partially, but really, like, mostly raised by my grandparents.
Yeah.
My mom, let's see the picture of my mom's a lovely woman. She's a first-class type lady. Hi, Mom. But
does she watch every episode?
She really does not. Someday she will, maybe. I don't know. I don't know what my mother does sometimes. The YouTubes, as she calls them. But there's a plural there somehow. But no, yeah, I think that's really cool because not only do you get an appreciation of having that older generation, like they get to do it better or quote unquote right because they can always give the grandchildren back, right?
Yeah, so, and they don't have all the stress that I think you have when you're trying to like build a career and buy a house and like do all the
it was
things.
Such a great experience to have them so close to me growing up and my childhood, and I always knew that I wanted the same thing for my kids, and I scored the lottery with my in-laws. So they are fantastic. So we always knew we were going to come back here. Not that this is about me. I just say that to relate because I totally get it. I think it's awesome. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a huge advantage to have, I mean, not only access to like high quality childcare, because we need that too, but also, you know, having the grandmas take 2 days a week is like a huge, you know, economic boon too, because it's expensive.
Daycare ain't cheap, yo.
Yeah, no.
There's a lot of people are
Which is why the state of Idaho should invest in public pre-K. But
I love how that slid.
The personal is political, Jaime.
That just slid into our DMs. And we can do that for as long as we're here. I'm perfectly okay with that. Well done. Well played. I am going to most definitely have to pour more. God darn it. I don't know why I'm trying not to curse when I know you're perfectly fine with me cursing.
Yeah, I didn't know what the rules were for
have
your
you noticed?
show exactly.
No, there's a lot of F-bombs being tried. I'm trying to classy it up, I guess, but I don't know why. Maybe it's just because I'm a little rusty.
Be yourself.
I need to be myself. Thank you. I appreciate that. So, back to today now. So, little Tally's here. You know, you moved back in order to be closer to family, start a new career, opportunity. Back then was, I mean, I'm willing to say not a little bit, but significantly more affordable. You know.
Yes, this is 2016.
Yeah, because I got here. Yeah, I got here right before you did. Yeah, so we'd be kind of back in Boise right about the same timeline. Now where we're at, what are we up to? What are we doing? Tell us about your
leaves
thing.
on the West End.
Oh, okay.
Life is good. Yeah, I started Full Swing PR in 2019 in February, which is just, you know, in hindsight, wow, I had no idea what the world was doing at that time.
Right.
But it's actually, you know, we are fortunate in that the business has not been hugely impacted in a negative way by the pandemic. If anything, I think it's probably been positively impacted, and not just because of PPP. But thanks for that too. Yeah. You know, I think it's important to remember that, like, when I started Full Swing PR, we intended to be an all remote agency and to create the kind of culture that was really friendly for working families and working parents. And that was partly why I didn't care about having an office. And I also didn't necessarily want to be tied to Idaho and Idaho's business community. We work nationally. And, you know, if somebody in Idaho really wants us and wants me and knows what I'm about, then by all means, perhaps we'll take them as a client. However, I think our target audience, because we're such a values-based business and really care about advancing women in power, we're not always a fit for Idaho. So, and that's okay.
What?
Yeah.
It is okay, but it isn't. But yeah.
So I have a team of 6 now, and it's myself and a part-time person in Boise. Everybody else is Seattle, New York, and Philadelphia. So,
nice. And are we going to be continuing to grow? Like, what's the scale?
Yeah, I think that it's important to grow to be the right size for whatever your business is.
And that's where I was getting.
I don't think growth for the sake of growth is my jam, but I think, like, you have to build a certain amount of, like, wealth within the business, one, if you ever want to sell it, and 2, just so you can make the impact you want to have, and also, like, take your time and your life back because you've taken this risk to, like, launch this venture.
Right.
So, you know.
Because you do very impactful work.
Yeah.
It's very important to you. But, you know, there's also the business aspect of it. So, you know, some people, you know, have this whole growth, scale, sell.
I mean, we're not like a venture-backed startup. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. Like, you know, we've been profitable the entire time, thankfully. But, like, also the risk has been, you know, on my shoulders. And then I brought in Holly Conti as a business partner I guess officially in May, but essentially January when we became an S Corp. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, and she's a digital marketing guru, and we were like work wives back in Boise. We worked at the same agency, and now she's back in New York to be closer to her family because she's got a 2-year-old. So.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know she moved.
Yeah, she moved.
Hi. Hi, Holly.
She's probably watching.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll find out. We'll find out. She'll let you know how not funny I am. But okay, so while you've been here, and I know, you know, how do I phrase it? You know, like, not necessarily because I want to know, you know, what is it that you are like very proud of as far as like, you know, those impact type projects, which is all of them really,
Yeah.
when it comes to what you do and your agency does. But if there's any one or two that you might want to highlight that you are like super pumped and proud of.
Yeah, well, Boise had never had a female mayor that was elected until Lauren McLean, now Mayor Lauren McLean. And I was able to lead her communications during the runoff election, which was really heated, as you may recall, in December 2019. So that was a big sprint and really fun. And it's hard to stay. I mean, I've worked at a public affairs firm and I've had politics be like my main jam, and I was a city council person. But I also really value that my whole, ability to like eat and pay my mortgage does not rest on politics alone. I like to take it, but on my terms as it comes,
Got it.
So
cool. And then what about outside of Idaho? What
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's see. We haven't done as much political stuff outside of Idaho, like I have personally, but not really so much through Full Swing. But we've worked with some really incredible women leaders. The author of Grieving While Black, whose name is Brescia Wade. She was a really great person to work with and remains a good friend. I got to bring her and her wife to Montana this summer while I was there.
That's pretty cool.
And we also worked with an executive coach who trains a large number of kind of up-and-comers at Google, especially trying to fill Google's internal pipeline with more BIPOC and LGBTQ leaders. And this particular coach is like one of the first kind of out trans women in her industry, and had worked like in automobile manufacturing and everything at a time when like nobody was talking about these issues. So working with her was super rewarding and interesting as well. Yeah.
Ooh,
But we do actually quite a bit of work in healthcare, in part because I just have quite a lot of experience in healthcare.
Okay.
And it's been a very trying time, as you know, from your own family
What?
for healthcare workers. But that's also it's been rewarding to play a small role in supporting those folks and telling those stories during the pandemic.
And that has been where exactly?
Mostly the Mountain West region, so Montana, Alaska, Idaho, and northern Idaho as well, and Spokane.
Oh, wow. Cool. Whew. Wow. So you're busy.
Yeah, it's good though. I feel like it's working. It really helps to have a team. I feel like so many women that I talk to are like, how do you start a business? Like, how do you know that it's the right time? And it's kind of like having a kid. Like, there's never the right time. Like, you just got to decide to do it and go all in. Like, I certainly never took a business class in college. I was editing the school newspaper at the time. But yes, it was not, I think I was probably a person who was sort of even skeptical of like corporate America and business, in my youth. But I really believe in what is possible when you get wealth into the hands of different people, right? So BIPOC and LGBTQ people and women in general, but especially women of color, I think that we could solve a lot of the problems that are facing Idaho as well as our country if we changed who has the wealth. And we live in a capitalist system, which I really like, and so we might as well figure out how to use capitalism to our advantage and make capitalism work for us and work for more people.
Right. Yeah.
So.
No, I see you on that. There has always been and I'm not for one, but the counter argument is like, you got to get rid of capitalism altogether. I just don't see that happening, in our lifetime. So what's like the next best thing, right? It's
just make all the money and give it to all the best candidates.
Right,
and get a seat at the table.
Yeah, and then there's that side of it, and then there's like also like the short term. There's long term impact and the short term impact. So like being able to have those honest and transparent conversations with like indigenous people here, right? Because we're sitting on their land and things along those lines. And like I'm very stoked and very proud, of like how many like refugees are welcome into Boise, but it's still not perfect, and we do well, but we could still even do better. The ability to help the homeless population and like having like the data, which like already explains and is like very transparent, and it's like the best way to get rid of homelessness is by having these people not be homeless, and not by having them like go to church or like commit to something like that.
Well, and it's like we pay for it one way or another. Do you want to pay for it with investing in prisons or do you want to invest in public pre-K? Like,
right, exactly. You
mean,
know, and like I think people that own prisons are already wealthy enough. So
Yes.
you know what? I'm good with it. You know, and then that dives into like modern day slave labor and all this other stuff that we don't have enough time to talk about, or maybe we do.
But even something like healthcare, you know, it was I think one of the scariest things about growing Full Swing to have 6 people and to offer benefits that I feel good about and be able to pay people a great wage is that, you know, how do you provide healthcare in this environment? Like, it would be so huge for small businesses like mine if there was a viable public option.
Yeah.
And it's just been kind of a nightmare to figure out a plan that works that's also affordable, you know?
So you mentioned something, right? So you were saying just a minute or two ago, you know, like when like somebody asks, you know, like how you start a business, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, so is that something that, you know, are you mentoring? I mean, because there's only so much time in the day for you, but like with Full Swing PR and Women in Power, which you co-founded, I'm assuming that there's like...
It's electable, but I love that you just changed the name.
Oh, I did?
Women in Power, LLC.
Why do I?
Maybe we need to change the name. It's
Maybe
fine.
not. Maybe I just messed it up.
It's very descriptive.
I just keep doing that on this show. So what does that look like for you? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have. I mean, I am loath to turn down, like, you know, a young up and coming person that like wants to have coffee and pick my brain, you know. And I always try to make time for that. It's just now it's like, okay, you might have to wait a month, but I'll get to it for sure. Okay. But my schedule is a little bit more packed these days than it once was. But I do think, like, I guest lectured at the College of Idaho for like a principles and marketing class to kind of tell those students about what a career in PR could look like, because I've kind of done a lot of different things before starting my own firm. And I think just having a pretty open door policy is a good thing. It's been somewhat weird with COVID in that I think there's less of that happening with folks in Boise per se, but I've done a couple of Zoom meetings with like Boise State students and that sort of thing. And then pre-pandemic, I started and ran a group called Boise Women Who Get Shit Done. And it was a lot of fun, but I just haven't brought it back because I just feel like there's something about meeting in person that is so powerful and really just expansive for folks. And I just, like, with the surging cases and the situation in the hospitals, it just hasn't felt like the smartest decision. And even with, you know, vaccines, it's like there's still breakthrough cases. And I know some people who've been sick for like several weeks with those. And so I think we'll just wait and figure it out. Yeah.
That's really cool.
But I hope we'll come back with that sometime.
I'm so glad you brought that up because eventually that was going to start getting carved into the conversation. But you did it, so I didn't have to ask.
Yeah, and I started Get Shit Done in part because I wanted to make friends here. Because I had left. I'd been in Montana for 11 years, you know, and so my women friends were mostly there and still, you know, to a large extent, I've kept up those relationships. But I also wanted to give women, professional women in Boise, whether they're in nonprofit or business or politics, like a space where we could kind of dismantle some of the good old boy stuff that goes on in this state and try to create a group that shared values and that was really committed to like lifting each other up and not sizing each other up, because that can be tough, I think, for straight women in business. So
true.
I've never understood the whole mean girl thing. I'm more like, I either want to be you or I want to date you.
Right, and there's
I
nothing
just
wrong
love
with
you
that.
either way.
Either way, right?
But
you know, there was a small portion of time, you know, a couple of years in which I was able to sit with Go Lead Idaho, which is you know, it's all
great stuff.
It's all, you know, group of women. I was very proud as the first and only male board member.
Oh, cool.
You know, so and I got to learn so much by just, you know, trying to contribute as best I could, but also kind of like staying in the background because my face is not the face. Yeah. You know, I'm just there to support. Yeah. But it was very interesting to me when I would run into, not within Go Lead Idaho, but outside and with similar groups that, you know, claim to have the very similar agenda, and kind of like placing like, like a highlight, on local women, trying to whether run for office or were trying to start their own business, or they were trying to navigate, what it looks like as they're like leaving academia and like joining the workforce and trying to juggle, life all together.
Definitely.
In a state in which we're ranked like, I think like third to last as far as equal pay.
Yeah, and it's going in the wrong direction,
and
which you don't hear every day. It's like, what?
Right.
How is it going the wrong direction?
I know,
It's
like,
supposed to
it's
just
like,
get at least like incrementally better.
yeah, not worse. I see we're so close down there at the bottom. But yeah, and things like that. So I was, it caught me definitely off guard when I would experience it. Because I didn't experience it, but like not myself, but I will see it.
Yeah.
And I will kind of stand there in the background and like being very overprotective. I just kind of be like, the beer's over that way. So yeah. Well, hopefully, especially after experiencing the pandemic and a lot of people realizing how much more gets done if you work together.
Yeah.
Rather than to like trying to claim accolades and it's like, oh, me, and I did it. Hopefully there's less and less of that.
And it was fun too because like we never wanted to make it into like a nonprofit or any sort of anything more than like an email list, right?
Right.
That
It's just like,
meets up and I'll buy the
kick it.
wine, and if somebody else wants to buy some appetizers, great.
Yeah.
And the Trailhead was very generous to like host us, and it was a great thing, and I hope it'll come back at some point.
Well, let me know if it does.
Yeah.
I want to hear about it.
You can be a guest speaker.
Oh, and talk about how I confuse names and, and say it all wrong.
Women in power.
So, what are we looking forward to into the future? What do we think? And it doesn't have to be goals. It doesn't have to be something that, it could be something that,
Well, one thing, it's like surprising because I never have considered myself to be somebody who's like motivated by money. I was always like more motivated by impact, and I think part of that is just how I was raised and how probably a lot of women are raised, where we are told these stories about money. Like, we're bad with money. You know what I mean? Money's really hard to make. You have to work really hard and work, 24/7 to make it. And you should probably like partner up with somebody who has money so that you both have money. There's just like all these things that we hear about money. And I think the most empowering thing about starting a business that's been successful is like the ability to just like generate money and to like set a goal and hit it, and to like give people raises and give myself a raise and that sort of thing is just it's just like a lot of fun. And I think also once I heard the statistic that only 2% of women-owned businesses ever hit $1 million or more, I was like horrified. So I was like, well, that's what I'm doing. Even if I personally make less for a little bit, we're gonna hit $1 million. And so I think we will next year. So yeah. Yeah, so that'll be really exciting because 2% that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And women start businesses at higher rates, and women of color especially start businesses at much higher rates than the population at large.
Yeah,
and so it's that scaling piece that really can be life-changing, not only for like you, the business owner, but also like the people that work with you. That if you can provide paid parental leave, which we do, of course, and you can provide great benefits and give people more responsibility and more opportunity. And
I love that you said.
Awesome.
I love that you said, of course. By the way.
Yeah, and we don't have to. But 3 months is standard. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I wouldn't do it any other way. I don't care how much it costs me because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And it's really messed up that more businesses don't do that.
No, they see it as a.
How was your break?
Oh, you're honestly asking me?
No, that's what I was asking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was just like, wait a second. Yeah. But yeah, exactly. And it's not. And that's the thing that drives me wild. It's not a break. It's not something that it's like, oh, like I went home because I just gave birth.
Yeah.
So now, I'm going to be getting like 4 interrupted hours of sleep on a regular basis, and then I have to come back over here and make sure that that there's still money going into the books. It's wild. We just got back from visiting some friends in Germany and France, and my wife's best friend is a neuroscientist in Germany.
Cool.
That's where she had to learn German as she was doing her master's over there.
Wow.
Pretty intense,
well,
right?
She's a neuroscientist. So, she's probably pretty smart.
So she's so now she has been there 10 years, and her 2 beautiful little boys, Victor, who's 5, and then Valentine, who is 8 months old, and they get a full year
Yeah.
Of
paid for by the government.
Yeah.
Again, which is like
exactly
take the pressure off of micro business owner Caitlin and like help me out here and doing the right thing. Because to me, it's a collective good. We want people to have children.
Yeah, and it can be absolutely done. You know, it's not like we have the money.
Totally.
We have the money for it.
Idaho has like a $900 million surplus right now, and we haven't even spent 1% of the stimulus funds yet. And so the federal government's going to take it back. Yeah,
it's completely insane.
Yeah.
And
then I got my like $50 or $100 from the state of Idaho, and like just please keep it and like fix education.
Right, thanks. And then they come and they tell you it's like, well, you don't want to be entitled. Yeah. I'm like, entitled? Yeah. So no, it comes back, to what you were saying. So thank you for doing it right, for your team, and hopefully it sets a good, awesome example and a standard for everybody else. But coming back to what you were saying, there's the aspect of making money, but then there's also the aspect of like, the roles that we all play, right? And I'm not a woman. But I believe to some extent I understand, not necessarily the pressures, but I can see it. It was like, how are you going to be, as a business owner, affected by having a divorce? Totally. And how's that gonna affect you, not only financially, but like your emotional capital if you happen to be a mother. Because chances are you're also going to be the one that is maintaining the household. You're also going to be the one that is making the meals. You're also going to be the one that knows whether little Freddie and little Johnny and little Lily, like what they have going on all the way from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. And like all these other things, right? And now all of a sudden you're taking one teammate out of the equation, and depending on what level of participation said teammate had, you are kind of in a tough pickle, totally. like type situation, and having these conversations and listening to people say, well, like I don't know that I want to have this lady on my staff. What if she gets married? I was like, then you say fucking congratulations, you dick. Or like, well, what if she gets pregnant? Well, then you fucking ask her, like, what does she need? Because she's pregnant, she's making life. Yeah. And
also that's illegal. Like,
right, then there's that too.
But there's always a way. I feel like when it's normalized in the culture and people don't speak up and say something when they hear that, it's like it's happening and it will continue to happen. It is happening.
Sorry, I got into a soapbox. So, our fearless producer just gave us our time mark, which is good because I was sorry.
Yeah, well, you were asking me about the future and what I'm looking forward to, so I guess I covered some of that because part of it is like tied up in making some bank,
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I feel like since I live in Idaho and I'm intending to live here at least until my child is grown up, I want to change the politics here. I would like to see Idaho become a more purple state.
Okay.
So that's probably a 20-year goal in and of itself, but you never know.
I like that. I like your ambition. I was going to say it's kind of 35. I want things to come closer to the middle.
I don't know. It's so much healthier, and it was, one of the things, like when I moved to Montana, people are like, oh, Idaho, Montana, they're all the same, but they're really not.
No.
And until recently, Montana was much different than Idaho politically, in part because they never had a right to work situation, so there's an actual labor movement there which helped kind of balance things, and they truly were a purple state, which I think Democrats are not perfect, Republicans sure are not perfect, but like when we have two viable parties, I think we end up coming up with better policy choices that work for more people.
And I couldn't agree more.
So
Caitlin,
yes,
tell the people who are watching at home or from their laptop or their cell phone how they can get a hold of you. They can get a hold of you, your business, anything you want to promote. It's got any shout outs. What do you got? That's your camera.
Womenwithpower.com. No, I should buy that domain and redirect it immediately. No, so my website is fullswingpr.com, and then my fun side hustle project, electablewomen.com, is the online community for women that want to run, win, and lead in local public office. We particularly focus on cities under 100,000 people, where it's kind of hard to build your own team, and you're probably not going to raise that much money, that sort of thing. And then at Full Swing PR, we work with clients in 3 ways. We offer kind of the typical retainer agreements that most agencies offer, and those are really fun, and it allows us to make big change for clients over time. And then we also work with clients through our PR VIP days, which are an immersive kind of retreat style where we build your PR plan for the next 6 to 12 months and tell you exactly what you need to do to be successful and get into the publications that you want to get into, and how to do that with your existing team. And then the last way that we work with clients is through a small group coaching program called Work Hard Once. It's 16 weeks and helps women learn to launch their digital products with confidence and for a massive profit. Because it's so fun when you work with these business women who are like, maybe they hit like low 6 figures, you know, like I did my first year, and then they figure out, oh my gosh, I can take this transformative work that I'm doing one-on-one and scale it and inject like 50 grand in my business in a week just by launching effectively. And that's like amazing. I mean, that's the kind of money making that can allow you to hire a team or to outsource your laundry or, you know, to send your kid to private school or like buy your mom a house or whatever the thing is. And I think as women leaders, we tend to make choices that benefit the whole community when we have money.
I dig it.
Yeah.
Right on. That's awesome. And then again, Idaho, if you're watching, this eventually will be in YouTube for the posterities. Check out the link below. You'll have all the information right there that Caitlin was just spitting out for you. As always, thank you so very much to Erica, Justin, who's not here. I'll get to thank you eventually. I will. But first, you know, Argos Productions, I definitely appreciate you guys for letting me use your space and being here and helping me with this project. Also, shout out to Jewel Case, my employer, because I'm supposed to be at work and instead I'm over here with my friend drinking whiskey and, you know, sharing stories and messing up names. It's what I do.
That's
so if you're interested in Jewel Case and clean, sustainable energy, we're a battery company. Check us out at www.jewelcase.com. Also, the link right here below. And if you're in there and there's anything you want to purchase, you can get 10% off by using the code JLPWR. That's Juliet Lima Papa Whiskey Romeo. JLPWR. Don't forget it. Caitlin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I could have done this for so much longer, but we got children to get to and activities and soccers and all sorts of other stuff. I should probably get some more work done. But it'll be okay. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it because I know how busy you are and all the things you got going on. I'm wishing you the best of luck, and hopefully we can get you back on again some more time.
Yeah.
And as always, Idaho, thank you for tuning in. When you get a chance, get out there, be kind to somebody. Cheers.